statistics. And for those of you who don't know, there are three categories: lies, damn lies, and statistics, which Mark Twain used to quote Benjamin Disraeli on that. And she's a professor of statistics and maybe joining Santa Fe College. We shall see. She's also recently taken the post of the Director of Development for the Bhaktivedanta Institute, which I serve at. So welcome, Dandini. She'll also be giving classes at some point. We'll get Shruti to put it on the schedule. But today it's my turn. Today we'll be discussing something that's great current events called the Age of Kali. Most of you have heard of the Age of Kali. It's been glorified even by rock bands. And the Age of Kali, it means the age of conflict and quarrel and things like that. And when the Bhagavatam is interesting in its literary style. Now, I'm going to ask a question, typical trick question. Is the Bhagavatam written in the past tense, present tense, or future tense? Who can tell me? Yes. Exactly. The 12th canto is the only part that's in the future tense. Well done. Well done. So the Bhagavatam, so here's a trick question because I said which one, but it's actually all three. So the Bhagavatam has a future tense part. Now, in the 1980s, when Hridhayananda Maharaj and his associates were translating the 12th canto, Prabhupada had already left us and only got partially through the 10th canto. So Maharaj began doing 11th, 12th, and then went back to the 10th. Well, why did he not begin where Prabhupada left off? Can someone tell me? Yes, Krishna book already has a 10th canto. It's already done in a summary form. So he said, I'll begin with the 11th and 12th. And when the 12th canto was being translated, I was running the BBT division that produced the books, the typesetting and editing, illustrators, and all the things that go into a BBT division. And I was reading the manuscript. When I was reading this manuscript coming out, and I'll read from it today, I started chuckling. Why was I chuckling? Because I said, I'll never see this in my lifetime. Oh boy, was I wrong. I got that one wrong. And if anybody doesn't believe me, pick up a newspaper and then put it down quickly unless you want to be depressed. Because all over the world, we see the symptoms of Kali Yuga becoming very, very common. And so the 12th canto was clearly predicting this. I just didn't think I'd live to see it. We'll discuss that in a little bit. Yes? Different places. Sometimes in California, trying to remember, so not Gainesville very much. It was mostly Miami and California. The books were being produced in Miami. We had an 8-story building on Miami Beach, and one floor was given to me for the BBT production department. And a lot of it was translated on Miami Beach and in California. And Gopi Pranadana was left us, but was helping Maharaj. He was based sometimes with me in Miami Beach and sometimes in the Himalayas, where he could work very peacefully. Really brilliant Sanskritist. And Dravida, who we met, he speaks here, was the editor. He was based in Miami Beach. And we had typesetters and proofreaders and all kinds of, you have to make a production. Produce it, send it to LA, they'd send it to a printer, and it was printed at that time in America. Things overseas. So, now we'll get down to today's verse, and then we'll have a little video for you. So we're beginning with verse 10. And Sudhu Vacha Yara Pariksit Jangala Vasat Kalim Paristam Jate Samya Vartam Anati Prayam Tata Sasranam Samyuga Sumadir Adede. And we're not going to chant responsibly because there'll be limited time to cover. So we will get on to the verse. Somebody read the verse for me, please.
Sutta Goswami said, while Maharaj Pariksit was residing in the capital of the Kudu Empire, the symptoms of the age of Kali began to infiltrate within the jurisdiction of his state. When he learned about this, he did not think the matter very palatable. This did, however, give him a chance to fight. He took up his bow and arrows and prepared himself for military activities.
Thank you. The state administration of Maharaj Pariksit was so perfect that he was sitting in the capital peacefully. But he got news. Just like nowadays, you would read the internet. In those days, couriers would come from all over the kingdom and bring news. They would, sometimes it would go like this: "Hear ye, this is the news." They'd go to a town square and announce the news. The news from the capital, everything was well. Outside, things were not going so well. He got the news that the symptoms of Kali had infiltrated into the jurisdiction of his state. He did not like the news. What are the symptoms of Kali Yuga? Illicit connection with women. Well, we don't have to go very far to the campus to get a feel for what that looks like. Indulgence in meat eating. You don't have to go very far to see that. Intoxication and taking pleasure in gambling. The age of Kali literally means the age of quarrel. And the above mentioned 4 symptoms in human society are the root causes of quarrel. And Prabhupada later on explains that gambling takes away our sense of austerity. What does intoxication take away? Say again? Say, microphone too. Let's use microphone. So, I don't know. Guesses are allowed.
It definitely takes away the sense of discernment, and it also puts us in the mode of ignorance.
Yeah, it does. Meat eating takes away your sense of kindness. Illicit associated women takes away your sense of cleanliness. So the things that good qualities are taken away by these activities. Therefore, we have an ashram in which we try to keep these activities at bay. I asked Prabhupada a question on this. When I met Prabhupada, most of you know, when I met Prabhupada, I wasn't a devotee. I was the only guest at the first Mayapur festival, because there was no Mayapur, so a hut for Prabhupada. And I went up there to help feed Bangladesh refugees. I didn't know anything about anything. A little bit. I had read the Gita, not Prabhupada's version, wasn't out yet, but didn't know much. And I got there, so Prabhupada asked me, so, on the regular principles, how do you feel about these things? Well, I said, I kind of follow 3, or maybe 2, sometimes 1. Quite embarrassing. And I said, well, I try to avoid intoxication, but when I'm with my friends and they're lighting up, India at that point, pot was every place. The first time I came across pot in India, I was in a nearby town. I was living in a village, nearest town, and I was a little sick. So I saw a sign, drugstore. So I walked in to get like Alka-Seltzer or something like that. And it was a drugstore. All they sold was pot and bong and hashish. So being an American aspiring hippie was a pretty good shop. But I really didn't like it. I said it was really hurting my memory, taking away. I realized this is not what I want. Really, really wasn't what I want. So what to do about it? But I working with two other Americans, we were quite poverty stricken. Our pay was a few hundred rupees a month, but that stuff was really cheap. And so what to do? It's kind of hard, with these people, and this is what they do. I was kind of pretty honest with Prabhupada. And what did he say to me? What was the key for changing my habits? That's it, association. It's an association. Change your association and it all changed, which is why you're all in the ashram. And if you weren't in the ashram, then the symptoms of Kali Yuga, such as cell phones ringing, would get to you. And so the key was association. That's why we're all sitting here. If that's me, I'm busy. Okay. So, Kali Yuga. The age of Kali Yuga literally means the age of quarrel. And the above mentioned 4 symptoms of human society are the root causes for all kinds of quarrel. Maharaj Pariksit heard that some of the people of the state had taken to these symptoms, and he wanted to take steps against this cause of unrest. In other words, a good leader tries to let the people be peaceful by dealing with symptoms of Kali Yuga. This means that at least up to the regime of Pariksit, such symptoms of public life are practically unknown. And as soon as they were slightly detected, he wanted to root them out. The news was not palatable for him, but in a way it was, because Maharaj Pariksit got a chance to fight. He was a Kshatriya. Hey, you're messing with my people? Now I can get out my bows and arrows. I was a Kshatriya. I want to do these things. This is what they do. There was no need to fight with small states because everyone was peaceful under subordination. But the Kali Yuga miscreants gave his fighting spirit a chance for exhibition. A perfect Kshatriya king is always jubilant as soon as he gets a chance to fight, just as a sportsman's eager when there's a chance for a sporting match. So soldiers want to protect people when people aren't protected. Sometimes you're walking down the street and you see a mugging. Has anybody seen it? I didn't know I had a little Kshatriya in me. But, I guess I had a little bit. Of course, I had to protect someone. I was on a plane being hijacked, and a hijacker was attacking the flight attendant. It was quite an adventure. Oh, really, really? Yeah. And I didn't know, little old me, I didn't know I had a little Kshatriya side. So I had to protect the flight attendant who was a hijacker. And we landed pretty quickly. When a plane is under attack, it's amazing how fast it can land. Like, amazingly fast. And so after that experience, I kind of, when I reread this, I understood, it's not that a Kshatriya wants to hurt people. No, he doesn't. But when people are hurt, he wants to protect people. I don't think my nature is a Kshatriya. But everybody from New Jersey has a little bit in them. Just goes with the territory. So, there was no need to fight. I mean, a perfect Kshatriya king is always jubilant as soon as he gets a chance to fight. No, it's to protect people, not hurt people, but protect. So, it's no argument that the age of Kali has symptoms are predestined. If so, then why was there preparation for finding out symptoms? In other words, if Kali Yuga is supposed to happen, it's like winter is supposed to happen. You can't fight winter. Or in our case, who cares about winter? Summer is supposed to happen in Florida. You can't fight that. It's gonna happen. Now in Finland, winter happens, but it never ends. Yeah. It's funny, I just mentioned Gopal Krishna. Finland was just rated the happiest place on earth, so I said it to him. It's cold, it's dark, and everyone's depressed. And that's the happiest place. Oh my God. Kali Yuga. Doesn't that echo well? But it was rated by the survey as the #1 happiest place on earth. In the rainy season, rain is predestined. And yet people take precautions to protect ourselves. We carry our umbrella in the rainy season. Assuming the age of Kali, the symptoms as above mentioned are sure to infiltrate into social life. It was the duty of the state to save the citizens from the association of the age of Kali. In other words, it's gonna happen. So therefore, just like on a rainy day we carry an umbrella, in Kali Yuga, we really work hard for good association. So I'll tell you a little story about that. So after I spent 3 days speaking with Prabhupada and being the only guest at the first Mayapur festival with 60, 70 Western devotees there. And everyone devotee, everyone under 30, mostly under 25, very zealous to preach. Imagine there was one person to preach to. One. The only device they had was like you find in the store when you get a ticket to see if you're next served next. It felt that way. Get a ticket of who gets to me next. And so one person would come to me and say, the most important thing is rise early. The next one would say, the most important thing is read books. The most important thing is offer your food. The most important thing is worship the deities. The most important, and everyone tell me what they thought was most important. But it wasn't very personal. What was most important for my own advancement? They were talking about what they needed. It was very bewildering to me. So after I spent 3 days with Prabhupada, I saw him fortunately again in Calcutta and at the temple. He asked me something to ask. He always ended every class whenever I saw him. He always said, "So you have a question?" He wanted us to ask questions, not stupid questions. One time, one devotee, Prabhupada gave a class, any questions? And no one asked a question. He says, you must have a question. Somebody says, well, the Bhagavatam says it. Is it really true? And Prabhupada goes, that's a stupid question. The Bhagavatam says it. And somebody asked a good question. So Prabhupada asked questions doesn't mean stupid questions. So, and the first time I met Prabhupada, I asked him a really stupid question. So I was cautious not to ask stupid questions. And so I asked Prabhupada, what is really most important? Because I wanted to know. What did he say? Not recorded in a private conversation. What did he say? So you have to guess. Association. Everything comes from that. Everything. Good answer. Association. That is the secret of Kali. So we continue. Maharaj Pariksit wanted to punish the miscreants indulged in symptoms of Kali Yuga and thus save the innocent who are pure in habit by culture and religion, but vulnerable to bad influence. Is the point. It is the duty of the king to give such protection, and Maharaj Pariksit was perfectly right when he prepared himself to fight. So I'm going to show you a little video. There was a play put on. Prabhupada really loved this play. Unfortunately, the original actors, Sudama Maharaj, was doing the play. I couldn't find a video of it, but I found a later version. It's called Kali Yuga, the Age of Sin. Let's see if this video actually works. Not sure how you'll be able to hear it, but we're only going to show a few minutes of it, but it was quite well done. He was sitting there smiling through the whole play. Go for it. That may not be, is that sounding? You may have to move ahead a minute. Move ahead 1 minute. That's Kali and that's sin. You can stop it. I don't think people are going to be able to understand the dialogue. That is Kali, and she is Sin, the consort of Kali. And they're giving the talk from the 12th canto of the symptoms of Kali Yuga and how wonderful it is that Kali Yuga has come so sin can be victorious. So you can watch on your own, but I couldn't find one with the dialogue shown. So that won't work very well. So we're going to talk, yes.
I thought, at least yesterday, when the Bull story, Kali's something.
Well, Kali was the man, and his consort is Sin. Kali's the man in black. Yes, good catch. And that's his consort, Sin. I'm not sure if that exactly to the Bhagavatam, but it's a theatrical presentation of the concepts. Gandhini, you've seen this play, I'm sure. You haven't? Oh, it's quite a remarkable play. The original Vaikuntha players who did it were just professional devotee actors. Oh yeah, Prabhu was sitting there in a rocking chair, ear to ear, grinning during the play. It is quite dramatic. Very, very well done. But this is a later version. When I watched it, it was well done, but the sound doesn't come out, so I'm not going to spend your time. So I'm going to read some of the symptoms of Kali Yuga from the 12th canto, the future tense now. Chaitanya has pointed out to us. There will be many uncivilized kings, and you can say prime ministers, presidents, and other such jerks, ruling at the same time. We find all over the world it's like that. Just like right now, take Turkey. The dictator president just arrested his only opponent who could defeat him on the best I can tell, the most trumped up grounds you could get. And we find that all over the world. Dictators, they want to hold on to their power no matter what. There's a chapter in the Bhagavatam that discusses dictators holding on to power. What's the name of the chapter? Dhritarashtra retires kindly. Because even though he had been defeated, his children killed and lost, he was still living in the palace as if he was ruling under Yudhishthira. And Yudhishthira was such a good nephew. He let his uncle stay there, pretending to be royalty. And then I think, was it Vidura or Narada Muni came? Vidura came and lectured him how disgraceful this is. Just go up to the Himalayas, go north and get out of here. What a disgrace you are, trying to hold on to your power. So nowadays, so that doesn't happen enough. So there's so many uncivilized kings ruling at the same time. O King Pariksit, and they will be uncharitable. possess fierce tempers and great devotees of irreligion and falsity. I just saw a video clip of a tourist, Western tourist, who was admitted to North Korea. Now, North Korea is the most closed dictatorial country in the world. And you go there, the police, you enter, they check everything to make sure you have no political literature. Every moment you're monitored. There's hardly any cars on the road because no one can afford it. And they just try to show you the best part of the country. But you can see people were poor and they were suffering. And all the money the country gets goes into military. To glorify a leader is just a horrible person. It's like the extreme symptom of Kali Yuga. We have a lot of little smaller dictators like that all over the world, including here. So these barbarians, in the guise of kings, will devour their citizenship, murdering innocent women, children, cows, and Brahmins, and coveting their wives and property of other men. They'll be erratic in their moves. You can't predict what they'll do. They will have little strength of character and be very short-lived. Indeed, not purified by any Vedic rituals, or you can say any religious rituals, and lacking in the practice of regular principles. They will be completely covered by the modes of what? Yes, the citizens governed by these low-class kings, presidents, prime ministers, dictators, will imitate the character, behavior, and speech of their rulers. Harassed by these leaders and by each other, they will all suffer ruination. So these are some of the symptoms of Kali Yuga. Now, how does Dickens' Tale of Two Cities begin? Somebody help me with that. So, get a microphone, please.
The best of times and it was the worst of times.
The best of times and the worst of times. That is Kali Yuga. Dickens got it right. Though he wasn't talking about Kali. Maybe he was. Yeah, who knows? Dickens is a cool author. But anyway, so Charles Dickens, you all heard of Charles Dickens? Oliver Twist, Tale of Two Cities, Martin Chuzzlewit, Bleak House. Obviously, I like Dickens. So, and it was the best of times that began and the worst of times. That is Kali Yuga. I just told you how it's the worst of times. How is it the best of times? Somebody help me with that. Anybody? Yes, microphone.
Because so merciful and offered us holy names as a means to overcome these symptoms of Kali, where in other ages it required so much more effort and work to go back to Godhead. We have the holy names. There's much more mercy.
Holy names make it really easy if we could do one thing, the most difficult thing you will ever do in your life. Yes. Yeah.
Tolerant and respectful.
This will help you do the most difficult thing. That's
well,
all.
You can chant them
a little bit more
with attention.
With attention. If you can hear one mantra, here's how we often chant japa. Snicker, snicker, hurry, hurry, snicker, 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 snicker. Then, anybody ever see radar japa? Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Hare. All kinds of japa. So, we have different kinds of japa. And go through the whole list of them. When we're chanting, has anybody ever had this experience? You're chanting, and you think, boy, I really screwed up that last mantra. I wasn't paying attention. I'm going to get it right on the next mantra. Has anybody ever had that experience? Most of you would have. Has anybody not had that experience? All pure devotees can leave the room now. There's no reason to stay. That experience, which we all have, tells us that we're not doing something right. Because when I'm thinking how I screwed up that last mantra, I'm not listening to this mantra. And when I think I'm going to get the next one right, guess what I'm not doing? I'm listening to this mantra. So if you can just hear one mantra fully, with rapt attention, without thinking of anything else, just one mantra, everything becomes successful. In Kali Yuga, it's hard to even get one mantra right, let alone 108, let alone 108 times 16, or whatever. It's so hard to get one mantra right. And it's so easy. In Kali Yuga, that's all you have to do. So it's the best of times and the worst of times. It's the best of times with the easiest method available. All the Vedic sacrifices and all the rituals and wearing kusha, sitting on kusha grass and wearing bark and deerskin and climbing up into the Himalayas and blah, 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 all these things. We don't have to do it. I talked to one of our BI devotees. He went to Kumbh Mela. This is the Maha Kumbh Mela. Tens of millions of people all crowded into the confluence of the holy rivers. And you dip in the river at the holy time. I said, how was it? All the yogis come out of the Himalayas. Some of these yogis are so old we can't even imagine. And you have the Shivites and the Vaishnavas and everyone there. I said, what was it like being at the Kumbh Mela just a month ago? He said, it was 98% hell. Very austere. 2% was pretty nice. So, I mean, anyone wants to go to Kumbh Mela, that's nice, you do it. It's a great austerity. But it's not necessary. What's really necessary is to get one mantra right. How hard is it to get one mantra right? It can be difficult. But it's so easy. Just one mantra. And this next mantra, I'm going to really get it right, which means I screwed up this one. And that's the secret of Kali Yuga. Get one mantra right. Just listen with rapt attention to one mantra. Has anybody ever here struggled to listen to rapt attention to one mantra? No. Yeah. But it's so easy. It's just one mantra. We're going to say one together now. Let's see if we can do it. Ready? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That was fun. It works. And by chanting together, kind of can help us. Now, easier to get a mantra right is when we're chanting together or in kirtan. When you're in kirtan, you're dancing, you're moving around. It's kind of fun. There's musical instruments. Chanting, that's the easy part. And that's why we do kirtan. Very easy. It's a lot of fun. Who doesn't like singing and dancing? I was visiting Vrindavan a few years back. And generally, my brother and I are very close. Not a devotee, but friendly. And I'd call him every day, see how he's doing. He said to me, what kind of place is this you're visiting? Because he'd ask where. I said, well, I'm downtown. I'm now by the river. I'm in this place or that place. Tell him he's never been to India. And he said, what kind of place is this? Whenever we're on the phone, I hear in the background singing. And I said, and dancing too, by the way. Said, what kind of place is that? Wherever you go, they're singing. Jai Radhe, Hare Krishna. That's Vrindavan. It's like that. So, singing, dancing, we must do it. It's easy. It's sitting down just on yourself and saying, I now will hear one. Ooh, boy, that is the difficult part. And that's how we get past the symptom of Kali. So everything else we do, such as our kirtan, our guru puja, our classes, everything else we do is getting us into the mode of goodness. The way we eat, when we sleep, what we do gets us into the higher modes of nature. Because in that higher modes of nature, we can actually develop the humility and connect with the holy name. Now, how do you get into the higher modes of nature? Well, for different folks, there are different slopes. Not always the same. It's not necessarily one size fits all. I can tell you what Prabhupada said I need to do, and I can tell you what Krishna told Arjuna he needed to do, because that fit Arjuna and fit me. And that was knowledge. I asked Prabhupada, what's the order to do things? First, get some knowledge. Because for me, whatever psychophysical body I have this life, I tend to be analytical, maybe too analytical. So I needed knowledge. Probably first, I asked him, what comes first, austerity or knowledge? He said, maybe for me, I don't know. He said, knowledge. If you get knowledge, then you'll want to do the austerities. How does knowledge come? By sitting in a class like this. We get knowledge. We put things in context. And in order to get knowledge, Prabhupada wanted us to do one thing very, very important to get knowledge. And I said it earlier, what is the one thing Prabhupada wanted us to do to get knowledge? More than that. More than that. Yes, these are all correct. I said it earlier. Say again? More than that. Ooh, this is good. So there was, for those on YouTube, hi YouTubers, it was saying, pay attention, good association. What did Prabhupada want us to do to get knowledge? And I said it earlier. I asked questions. So at this point, I'll stop and see if there are any questions. Yeah, I led you up to this one. Okay, we'll start here. This question. And microphones, please, for questions.
Sure. Thank you for class. One of the things that we talked about today was how breaking the four regulative principles is why there is so much quarrel. And that is a root cause of quarrel. But I felt like amongst devotees, there's quarrel, and we follow the regulative principles in a sheltered environment. Why is there a quarrel then?
Well, for 20 years, I did this gun resolve. And I mostly retired. I just advise now, dealing with quarrel and conflict. Why? Because it's age of Kali, and we're not so pure, and we're going to have conflicts. So the key is not to avoid conflict. The key is how to deal with conflict, because it can be a real good learning curve. I'll tell a rabbinical story that I heard that will put this in context. I might have told this here before, but it's a good story. There was a debate in a congregation, and they couldn't decide if they should stand or sit in that part of the liturgy. So a group went to see the rabbi and said, do we stand or sit? We think we must stand in this part of the liturgy. And the rabbi goes, yes, that is our tradition. And the other delegation who thought they should sit went to see the rabbi. Rabbi, We think we must sit during this part of the tradition, during this part of the liturgy. And Rabbi says, yes, that is our tradition. Then the two groups talked to each other, and they realized they had opposite instructions. So they went and sent a joint delegation to see the rabbi. Said, Rabbi, you told one group it's our tradition to sit. You told another group it's our tradition to stand. Now we're going to fight. And the rabbi said, yes, that is our tradition. So it's something like that in Kali Yuga. We expect there to be quarrels. Husband and wife will quarrel, but if they quarrel productively, they get to understand each other. When devotees are quarreling, because we're all different, we're individuals, and we respect our individuality. And we quarrel, but we quarrel with the point of trying to get deeper understanding. And the secret of that is well, here's one very powerful line. Let's say two Prabhus are in a dispute over something. Can you give an example of a dispute? Okay, anybody want to give an example of a dispute between two devotees with the microphone? That's it? I don't dispute. I dispute that. Yes, microphone.
Who's going to go first through the door?
Say again?
Who's going to go first through the door?
Oh, well, who's going to be
After
first?
you, Prabhu. No, after you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Well, that's a lesser dispute. But let's say we have a dispute over, you didn't clean the temple well, and you really didn't do it. But I only had 10 minutes. And that's the best I could do. So let's say somebody has that. There are two ways to respond. One way is, who the hell are you to tell me I didn't clean the temple right? The other is to recognize the feelings of that person. And remember, we want to be radical personalists in this time. We really want to be radical persons. And to recognize, oh, that person's concerned. Oh, boy, it really bothers you when the temple room isn't as clean as it should be. I appreciate that. What a difference that makes. Now, maybe I couldn't do anything. I had 10 minutes, and it's a 20-minute job, and I only have 10 minutes for it. I have to drive the truck to Krishna lunch or something. But it's that helps us to become radical persons. When there's disputes, it's an opportunity for us to develop deeper relations. That's really what it is. So disputes can be used in Krishna service, very much so. Yes.
I was thinking about what you had said in this age, like what's still good, and that it's the holy name, and having one short span of attention on the holy name is like the greatest thing we could have. I was also thinking, though, that in this earth, we have both joy and suffering. So I was thinking my other answer that I'd like to propose is joy, because even in times before I was practicing, chanting and around devotees, in my darkest times, I can still look back and see that I had some moments of joy or feeling some times of success, around the friends or, loved ones that I had at that time.
Yeah. There was a very good, Dhanadhar Swami puts out a missive every Monday. And this Monday really struck me especially. He asked this question: is there any love in the material world besides love of Krishna? And I thought it was quite a good question. Is there any love besides love of Krishna? And there were different answers given. And there was a class given, and somebody had said, well, the only love is really Krishna. So he challenged that point. And it's a difficult question. The answer he gave, which I really like, is gradations. Yes, there is. Sometimes what we think is love is lust. Sometimes, what we get mixed up. But there is love within this world. And there is love of Krishna. And how to distinguish it, how to know what's really love. But there is love. And Prabhupada summed it up very well. Said the closest thing to the spiritual love you can find is a love of a mother for the child. Because in that case, the mother will make any sacrifice, even her life, for the child's benefit. And we see many examples of that. I had a loving mother who would do anything for the three rascal sons who caused trouble all the time. But she'd do anything. So the love of a mother is an example. So there is love, but we have to be cautious because sometimes we get it mixed up with other things. So that was the conclusion. That was a nice question. Gandhini.
Gracias. Thank you for your lecture. You talk a little bit about the radical personalism. It's a point I really like to see if you can dig a little deeper in the sense of the consequences of not having that.
Of not having radical personalism.
Yes.
Well, the biggest one, the main symptom of the Kali Yuga is impersonalism, that we lose our personality. I'll give an example that's very close to home. I, run the Bhaktivedanta Institute, or it runs me to be precise. It runs me ragged. If you want to keep your hair, do not try to run the Bhaktivedanta Institute. But anyway, the big issue we deal with is consciousness. Which comes first, matter or consciousness? Even some of the best philosophers and cosmologists and astrophysicists in the last 10 years have switched positions and are saying consciousness precedes matter. The Big Bang, everything evolves, and next thing you know, emerging from this is a brain by evolutionary processes and consciousness and habits. If they're reversing that, they're saying now consciousness must come first. I don't have time to go into detail of that now. This is great for us. Yet they always end up in some impersonal position. Consciousness can't be personal. They have a contradiction. And when consciousness can't be personal, they have no way to deal with free will. And they get totally bewildered. So radical personalism allows us to resolve the philosophical problems of Kali Yuga. How can we, if consciousness precedes matter, we also need personalism to make it work. So personalism is key. Personalism begins on one-on-one with each other. If we don't practice personalism with each other, we're never going to understand the bigger philosophical picture. So being in an ashram, being people who do outreach, mixing with students or whoever, is a chance for us to be personal. What do we do when we meet someone? We try to understand them. I don't like even using the word preaching because it implies that we're talking at someone. The best way to be a good outreach person is first be a good listener. Understand who you're talking to, what their interests are, what their concerns are. If they're talking to you, they have interests and concerns. They know, you're standing with a book bag or something. They know you know something. Find out something about them. Be personal. Bhakti and I often, my wife, we often comment on what we call the 99% rule. I'm involved in some historical reasons, certain civic affairs. So I end up meeting a lot of people. I have breakfast once a week with the mayor. From that, I have to interact with people. I'm an advisor of some sort. And when I meet people, 99% of the time when I'm done, I know a lot about them and they know very little about me as an impersonalism. We go even to sometimes a family function, which we're meeting this relatives I don't know well. When I'm done, I'll know a lot about them. Will they know anything about me? It's Kali Yuga, impersonalism. So we want to be radical personalists. It's hard because impersonalism is everywhere. It's all pervasive. It's kind of like going to India. Air pollution is all pervasive. You can't even go to Mayapur or any other place without getting bronchitis. So similarly, it's all pervasive impersonalism. So we always have to fight it. And it's fought one battle at a time, one interaction at a time. With that, I'm over time, and I get in trouble with Shruti, but he's in Vancouver, so I'm home free today.